Welcome to the Ask Valor Masterminds Podcast, brought to you by CR Gutters. I'm Galen.
I'm Joe.
And we're coming to you from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2020 and an intro to the new decade. My name is Galen.
I'm Joe.
And we are at the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington for the first episode of the year for the Ask Valor Masterminds Podcast, brought to you by CR Gutters and Advanced Septic Services. So, Joe, how did our podcast get started?
Sure. So we started a Facebook page called Ask Valor Masterminds. We wanted to bring businesses together so that they can talk and communicate and just ask questions and answer questions and give tips to one another. So Galen said, hey, we met BD Local at a networking group that we both go to, and they have this amazing studio here. And so we said, let's do a podcast on what we did for Facebook, bring it live, and then bring on guests, talk about different topics related to business in general. And then I think today's going to be an awesome podcast as well because it relates to business. Amazing.
So this is our 9th episode, so it was very new to us, but we've learned a lot from our guests and everything that we do. What's your number one takeaway from the first podcast episodes that we've done that you could share with our viewers?
Sure. For me, it's take care of your employees. A lot of the small businesses out there have employees, and in order to keep employees around, you should always, to a certain extent, be good to them so that they're good to you and they show up when they're supposed to show up.
Right. Then mine, we share this also, but don't overthink decisions. So analysis paralysis. Sometimes you think too much, just do it. If you have a passion for it, get started. So thanks for tuning in, following us. Thanks to all our viewers so far, and hopefully we'll deliver some good content. So this is the point of the podcast where I like doing research and numbers. Our Did You Know segment, again, brought to you by CR Gutters and Advanced Septic Services. Cue the first image. So we are going to go with trends in digital marketing for this upcoming year that Joe and I kind of think will probably make its presence felt in 2020. So the first one is marketing personalization. So if you want to stand out in 2020, you need to personalize your marketing. So that means personalized content, products, emails, and more. So 63% of consumers are highly annoyed with generic advertising blasts. We get that. You see it like, oh, they're following me, but we actually sell that. So the next stat is with marketing personalization, 80% say they are more likely to do business with a company that if it offers personalized services. So it's no longer a cookie cutter approach with how you search, how you shop. Everything's kind of personalized, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And our last stat for marketing personalization is 90% claim they find personalization appealing. So it's almost when you're shopping for something, you want something tailored to you.
Correct.
So your mobile device, when you go home and search, people find something, they want something tailored for them, right? So a trend we think is going to be in the upcoming year. Our second trend for your Did You Know stat that we want to go on is video marketing. So we've had a videographer on before, Dion, right?
Correct.
Devoted to video, and we'll bring her on again. Video marketing is one, if not the most important marketing trend today and likely for the next 5 or 10 years. So here's some numbers to think about with your digital marketing strategy in 2020 as it relates to video marketing. So 70% of consumers say that they've shared a brand's video, and 72% of businesses say that a video has improved their conversion rate. So when you shop, do you see that yourself, and do things stick out to you when you see a video?
Absolutely, especially in the I like the trades industry. So especially like your trades people, your landscapers, they show you the process of what it takes to do what they do.
Right.
So it kind of brings you in and gives you a bird's eye view of, all right, this is why you're paying us what you're paying us to transform your property into something beautiful.
Right. Our next trend for our Did You Know segment is voice search. So voice search is all over the place. So people have Amazon Alexas, Google Homes. Your refrigerators are being smarter than the people that own them. Microwaves, your cell phones, right? So these are two stats in voice search I'd like to share. So 50% of all searches will be via voice by the end of this year. So that's a lot. So
Yeah.
that's just using this guy,
absolutely.
right? And 55% of all American homes will own a smart speaker by 2022. So the cost of entry for a smart speaker come Black Friday, you get pick up an Alexa for like $20-$25, right? A Google Home for the same price.
Yeah.
And then again, if you get appliances at home, like there's always smart versions. They have them in cars now too, you know, so they're watching us everywhere.
The refrigerator one just blows me away, where you can click on your phone and see what's in your refrigerator.
Oh, is that what it is?
To know what you need if you get a honeydew list from your wife on the way home from
work. I'm
just
trying to check the weather. I don't know about you,
but you can see what's in your fridge to know what you need to pick up.
Oh, there you go. Our next trend and our Did You Know stat is interactive content. So speaking of instant access, that brings us to one of the fastest growing digital marketing trends in recent times, interactive content. So in 2020, we're destined to see our next image, a shift from traditional text-based content to dynamic, engaging content. So like quizzes and polls, like calculators, augmented reality, 360-degree videos. I'd almost put in like live feeds, I think are part interactive and everything, as a trend to see, to maybe think about for your upcoming year for anything digital marketing.
Correct. And in fact, we do quizzes and polls to figure out what topics maybe you guys, our audience wants, what kind of guest you want us to bring on.
Right. You can even tell us what we should wear, right?
Yep.
You could have, I don't like him wearing that color or this color, or, you know, shave your head, shave your eyebrows, whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Our fifth stat, and we have 6 total, so there's just 2 more. If you're annoyed by this, I apologize. But the growth of geofencing. So geofencing is a product that appears on mobile devices. What would you give as a 10-second elevator speech on geofencing?
Geofencing is I own a coffee shop and I want to hit every consumer that walks into a Starbucks with my ad.
There you go. 10-second version. So while the idea of marketing to people based on their location is nothing new, we do expect an increase in geofencing, so much so that the market will grow by $2.4 billion by 2023. So, and it goes along with the rise of mobile use, because it's strictly, you're targeting people on their mobile devices. And last but not least, our last trend we think is very important for this upcoming year, the start of the decade, is website security. So our last podcast episode, we had Travis of Fuse Networks that joined us. And website security we didn't know it was that big of an industry or that important, but the same breath of privacy, we need to mention website security. Website security is no longer an option. So as of August 2014, Google announced that having a secure website is almost like a ranking signal. Yep. And if you use Google Chrome, if your website's not secure, you'll notice in the top left-hand corner in the search bar that there's a red mark and it'll say this website is not secure. So if you have contact forms on your website and there's that information, you want to secure that, just because you don't want data to get hacked.
Correct. And that's a lot of times where hackers come through as your contact form.
Right. So those are our Did You Know, our first Did You Know. And now we'll transition to the topic that we teased about on our social media channels, which is goal setting in 2020. So we'll bring aboard our guest, Jeff Cartwright of the Coaching Maverick. And I'll introduce him. He's actually coming to us from Pennsylvania on the East Coast, where our Seahawks just beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Right? Sorry to throw that into you, but if you had a starting quarterback, maybe you'd have a chance, but we took him out.
God.
Sorry.
Right.
I didn't mean to throw a low blow.
Thanks a lot, Galen.
All right. But Joe and I both on our previous lives worked at a company called Yellow Book that turned into Haibu. Jeff Cartwright was the director of sales and leadership development for 36 years. So has a little bit of experience with them. He's had the Coaching Maverick for about 4.5 years. He's a serial entrepreneur by heart. He's also a cigar lover. Share a passion. Right.
Rocky Patel and Cohiba.
Yes. He's a Penn State grad. So congratulations on the big win over Memphis in the Cotton Bowl.
Thanks.
But we're pleased to have him on, and we'll kind of get started then, just to get to know you a little bit before we transition into the goal setting portion of the podcast. So what are some...
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say thank you for inviting me, guys, on this your first podcast of the decade. I appreciate being asked to be a part of this 2020 goal setting program or podcast, and I'm very happy to contribute in any way I can as far as my experience, my background, and also my tendency to use goals and to set goals every day. We'll talk about that later as far as your questions and so forth, but I'm very happy to be aboard to be your first interviewer.
Nice. We're excited to have you.
Yeah. So the first question is, Jeff, what are some lessons learned being an early entrepreneur?
I thought about your question earlier, and I was thinking about one of my main lessons, Galen and Joe, is the value of scheduling. Believe it or not, it's a mundane thing like scheduling your appointment, scheduling your time, scheduling, when you're going to see a certain client, or when you're going to go cold calling, or when you're going to follow up, scheduling your day, scheduling your week. I like to do things on Sunday night, like the old school. Mm-hmm. I follow a lot of Stephen Covey's teachings from way back when, before you guys are both born probably, but I follow a lot of the old school way of sitting down Sunday night about 9 o'clock or so on every Sunday of the week and planning the coming week. And I think the scheduling as a new business owner, entrepreneur is really, really important. And I think the second piece that's very important is follow-up. It's just one of those things that most of us fail to do. And even with my current clients I now have, and also with new clients, the follow-up idea that they're conditioning yourself to always follow up, to call back when you say you're going to call back, to set that appointment and follow your schedule, an Outlook or however you schedule yourself is really, really important. So I think those are two lessons learned from being an early entrepreneur. And just, what I've kind of grabbed onto as far as guiding me through this maze of making a living on my own and I own 2 different companies now. And I'm very blessed in that regard, but also I tell people that I'm excited, enthused, and scared to death at the same time.
Yes, like many of our viewers in the audience, entrepreneurs tuning in, listening, they could definitely relate. So
with that right. Follow-up, I will add one thing I would mention to all home services or trades related is that follow-up is key. I've come across so many businesses that take the time to go to someone's house and give them a proposal on the services that they offer. And then the next question I ask is, how many of those people do you actually follow up with? And I find about like 50% of them don't even bother to follow up with someone they actually have given a proposal to. So to me, that's huge, and you're missing out. Your business could be growing faster than where it's at right now if you just
absolutely.
So my next question is, what is the best piece of advice that you were given when you started your companies?
I have 2 suggestions as far as advice that I can give to a new business owner just starting out. The first one, in fact, my very first client back in 2012. I signed him up to be one of my first clients in 2014 officially, but I got to know him in 2012. Mm-hmm. He said, Jeff, if you can get paid in advance, that's a good thing. So my first advice is if you can get paid in advance, please do. It's a good thing to get paid in whatever your fee is, however you schedule your payment. Advance payment is always a good thing. And he kind of said that to me. I thought, well, that makes sense, but why? Because I guess so often in our industry or just within the business we're in, no matter what part of the business you're in, if you're an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, it's more likely that you might, have to have somebody to pay you, or you might not get paid the full rate or whatever. And his advice to me was, the best thing you can do is, ask for payment up front. And the number 2 advice I would give, he said, price your service or product at the higher end of the market.
I think
that. And he was telling me that most of us who just get into business on our own, we tend to underestimate our value to the market, our value to, who's acquiring our services or product. We tend to underestimate that, and we tend to go lower than we might as far as what fee we charge. He said, you can either race to the top or race to the bottom. He said, Jeff, I choose in my business to race to the top. So he said, always price your service or your product at the higher part of that higher end of the market. So I've managed to do that, and I've lost some business because I wouldn't go down in my rate or down in my fee, but I've also gained a lot of business and also some credibility by virtue of having my fee at the top end and then doing more than they expect when they do hire me or my company to come in and do the work that's expected beyond their expectations. So those are two kind of best advice to be given as far as what I think they might want to consider.
And it also shows that you provide quality
and value.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So since this is a kind of a marketing themed podcast in the end, why do you think marketing your business is important? So maybe not your business per se, but clients you have who start a business. Where does that marketing piece fit in?
I think that marketing, and I wrote down in my notes here, that online marketing is the only pathway to sustainable growth in any company. It doesn't matter the company you're in, doesn't matter the industry you're in, doesn't matter the service you provide. If you're in business today and you want to grow your business and sustain that growth, online marketing, search engine marketing, search engine optimization, AdWords, online marketing, even social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, social media marketing, online marketing is so critical to sustainable growth in any business. And I think that that's, it's maybe a foregone conclusion that most of us realize.
Right.
But I spoke to a business owner just yesterday, and he owns a security company in one of my networking groups. Mm-hmm. And he said, Jeff, I know that I should be on it, but last thing I did, I bought a Yellow Page ad some years ago, and now the Yellow Page is no longer in favor. They don't use it anymore, Jeff. But I've kind of shied away from getting on the internet. I'm like, really? He said, yeah, I just don't know how I can best. I said, you know what? Let's talk further. I recommended him to my internet provider and to my SEO guy that I have in Oklahoma City. And they called him this morning. Mm-hmm. But it amazed me that here's a business person in the year 2020, and he's got a pretty good he's a solopreneur, home security. He did about $2.2 million last year.
Oh, that's a good number.
He's been in business since 2011, I believe. And he's got a good business going, but no internet presence. Wow. So I think that, the idea of, he realizes sustaining his business growth mm-hmm. is going to require online marketing, going to require to get more aggressive. So I think that he's willing to bite the bullet, and he knows the value of marketing his business that way.
Well, even with your Yellow Pages, because all three of us come from that Yellow Page background, but all of your Yellow Page companies have transitioned all of their clients out of the phone books because they no longer print them, and they're trying to sell them digital marketing. I think that they're a couple years behind the times, but as far as the transition goes, internet marketing is just the future.
So Jeff, as we transition into the goal setting, I want to get into how you started the Coaching Maverick and everything. So first of all, tell us about the name, the Coaching Maverick. How did that come to be?
Well, my wife, we as you mentioned earlier about being an Eagles fan, and bottom line, I'm also a Cowboys fan. I can't say that too loudly here in Philadelphia. But
you got a new coach, so there you go.
Right. And I have a signed Tony Romo jersey in my closet upstairs, but I've never worn it because I'll probably get mugged in the city. But, the last name Cartwright, and the whole idea of coaching, I wanted to get into coaching, coming from training, corporate training, mm-hmm. most of my career at Yellow Book and Haibu, and then transitioning to my own company. I wanted to get into coaching and to mentoring and also into leadership training. So my wife suggested that I call myself the coaching, the coaching cowboy, because, I always wear Stetson, a cowboy hat. I've worn a cowboy hat for, 25 years or something. I've always worn a different Stetson. So she mentioned, coaching cowboys. And then one of my sons said, Dad, there's no way you can call yourself cowboy. Headquartered in Philadelphia. I said, oh, you're probably right. So we decided to go with Coaching Maverick, also because the name Maverick implies, or it is, by definition, a non-conventional approach to training and mentoring and tutoring and tutorial sessions. And I do present a very non-traditional approach, as you guys know. You've been to my sessions in corporate America. So we decided to go Coaching Maverick as far as the coaching piece of what I've done most of my life, and the Maverick non-conventional way to bring about change and to bring about a more job joy environment at work. So that's how we got the title. And I started the company back in 2014. And it's been, up and down, back and forth. As I said earlier, it's been exhilarating and thrilling and fiery and scary in the same breath. And I'm very happy that I should have done this probably 10 years ago, but no regrets from where I came and what that brought me to this spot here. I'm very blessed in regards to how we're doing. We're doing very well in that part of the business. Meanwhile, in the last 2 years, I've also run another company. I'm now a part owner in an advertising company, a mobile digital billboard company. And I joined that company, and I'm a partner there, 50-50 partner there, as of 2 years ago. It's called the TV Truck.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 4 trucks, and we advertise different advertising, different ads we sell to, lawyers and industry and supermarkets and whoever wants to buy an ad on a billboard. And we travel around the city and around other parts throughout the area here on the East Coast with our trucks advertising their business, digital mobile billboard advertising.
Nice.
So I haven't left the advertising world. I kind of transitioned to entrepreneurship as far as my own, owning the businesses and now getting more involved in them. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we get into the goal setting, people are anxious to kind of listen to your tips. There's a couple quotes on your website that I'm going to read to you, and I want to give me like a 10 to 20 second thought on each on why you put them there. So the first one, cue image 1, be a yardstick of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Steve Jobs. Why does that resonate with you?
Well, it's all about excellence, and it's all about, doing something unexpected and having the courage to go where no one has gone before, and then delivering excellence beyond what expectations are. That my company will do if you call us to take care of your employees or train them, and that I think the employees should be thinking about, not being held back by tradition or convention, but doing something maybe non-conventional that's going to reap greater sustainable benefits or sustainable profits.
Awesome. And we'll have Jeff's contact information too readily available. So feel free to contact Jeff if you need anything. Jeff, you'll talk to anyone around the country, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cue image 2. So this quote, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Warren Bennis. Why does that resonate with you, Jeff?
That's one of the key components in leadership and in guiding, people and in getting them to buy into the vision. It's the capacity to translate that vision to reality. We can all have visions about how we see the world. Leaders have a way of translating that vision into implementable steps to get to the point. Martin Luther King, I have a dream. He had a way to communicate his leadership and to take that dream to another level as far as civil rights. And I see that quote that Bennis provided in his book about management and leadership. I just had to take that quote out and put it in my cycle. I studied Warren Bennis for years, and he's like the guru of leadership before John Maxwell. I've also studied under John Maxwell, but I want to use that quote for that reason, that translating vision to reality is a key component of leadership.
Awesome. So I'm going to say this quote, but I'll go into my question because it'll set up our goal setting for 2020 and get your insight on it. If you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes. And with that, the first question I'll ask regarding goal setting, Jeff, what are the 2 or 3 most common mistakes small businesses make in setting goals?
Okay. I think the very first one they make, if I had to mention 2 or 3, is they don't set the goals. And they actually don't sit down and decide what goals they want for the month or for the year, what revenue goals, what indices they want to touch, what customers they want to grab onto, how they want to sustain their current customers. They don't physically do that. I've noticed in my consulting business now, there's so many companies that are doing well, don't really get to that next level until they realize the value of setting goals. I think that a lot of them just don't do it. The second thing is that once they set them, they don't then adjust them. I mean, you set a goal to do A and you miss A in the first 30 days, but you don't reset A to make it, A plus 1 or something for the next 30 days. You don't learn you don't take the lesson learned to the next month, then that's just futile. So I think that I've noticed in my consulting, those 2 key components, 1, not setting the goal, and 2, once you set the goal, having the courage and having the need to adjust it based on what the market is doing or what you're doing as a company.
Right.
Nice. So with that, I mean, I think you already answered this next question, but what is the importance of setting goals? Why is it
I
important?
have one paragraph or one sentence here that I wrote down. Goal setting provides a working foundation that will sustain growth. That's it. There's no way around it. Setting goals for any company, any service business, any industry, any product-oriented business, retail, doesn't matter. If you're in business today, goal setting provides a working foundation that will sustain your growth. Now, you have to physically do it, and I will walk through that, I guess, in the next questions or so, but the whole idea of goal setting sustains growth. And I've found and read about and experienced no other way to get growth beyond setting the goals. From General Electric and from Amazon and from Tesla and from Apple to the Coaching Maverick or the TV truck. Every company I've ever experienced has always realized the value of providing a working foundation for sustainable growth through setting goals.
Nice. So the last question. So what are 2 to 3 tips you could give our viewers and listeners now, our small business entrepreneurs that are hustling day-to-day, solopreneurs? What are 2 to 3 bits of wisdom that you could get this decade started on a good note?
I think number one, meet with yourself. Plan on your schedule a weekly meeting with you in some quiet place. Just you, and if you have a partner, you and your partner maybe, but it's a quiet place, meet with yourself to really get your mind set, visualize what you want to happen as far as reality, what you want to do as far as the business for that week, for that month, for that year. First thing is meet with yourself. Number two, establish what I call a working strategy session. My partner and I, we meet every 2 weeks, 12 o'clock at Whole Foods. We have lunch at Whole Foods, and then we spend about 2 hours every 2 weeks, policy or strategy, planning, talking about action to be taken. I take notes, he takes notes. We have actions to be taken. Now, we speak every day to each other, either in person or on the phone, but we sit down every 2 weeks and we go over what we did the last couple of days, we're going to do the next couple of days. And I find that doing that exercise greatly enhances our ability to grow the business per what our plan is. And finally, write down exactly what you want to accomplish. And then tell 2 people you trust what you committed to pen and paper. Like, it's so important to, whatever the goal you have for your company, for yourself personally or your family, write it down, the old school way, either on your phone, which I've done sometimes, or I use my pad still, my legal pad, but write down what you're going to get done. Tell 2 people you trust what you committed to pen and paper or to your phone, and then that holds you accountable. And believe it or not, those people will help to hold you accountable to what you thought was important. So I think those 3 pieces are going to get people in 2020 on the right track. And it's not just about 2020. It's about every day you're in business. It's about every week you're in business, every month you're in business. You have to maintain that level of energy, that level of commitment to grow and to exceed expectation. And that takes more than just a once a year kind of sit down, resolution thing. Forget that. It's more about daily resolution to get better than you were the day before. Always moving forward.
Before you ask your question, Joe, can we put his contact information on screen? And then Joe, go ahead. You had a question for Jeff.
So my question is, you touch base something real quickly, which is really accountability. So like one thing I heard in a BNI podcast listening to is having an accountability partner. And so I did that. And what that does is it helps you focus on, instead of putting your goals for the whole year out ahead and trying to focus at everything at once, let's say you meet with your accountability partner every single month, like you're doing with your working strategy sessions. It's the same thing, but maybe it's someone in a different industry. What's your thoughts on accountability partners?
My thoughts are absolutely right on. Absolutely, where it should be. I do that now. I have other people in other industries that I consult at least once every other month. But I call them up and they advise what I've done, and we kind of go over notes. I do that right now, and I think that so many of us, or at least in my experience, I was raised to take care of yourself, take care of the family, roof over your head, food in the mouth, clothes in the back. I was raised not to really network. I wasn't raised to have a network. It wasn't part of my mom's teachings. I've learned over the last probably 10 years the value of having a network around you to help a team to help you get where you want to go. And also the team stretches you. And they also make you more accountable. So I totally believe in the idea of having that accountability coach, so to speak. Every month you touch base. Where are you? Where do you want to be? How far away are you? How close are you? How far over are you? What can we learn from last month to carry to this month? I'm in a constant learning process, guys. And I love, again, energy, enthusiasm, fear. It's all mixed in. A constant learning process as far as how can I do a better business? How can I run a more sustainable business? How can I exceed my customers' expectations? How can I increase the job joy that they have for their employees?
Well, we definitely would love to have you on again if you're willing to come back on.
I am, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you're like a walking encyclopedia of endless information, like in a good way, that I think we'll ask our viewers what specific topics and then maybe get back with you sometime in the year. But
please do.
Jeff Cartwright, the Coaching Maverick, his contact information's on screen again. Thanks for CR Gutters and A Advanced Septic Services, our sponsors, for putting on this podcast. BD Local from Tacoma, Washington. Jeff, Happy New Year. Bye.
God bless, guys. Giddy up.
Go Hawks. Sorry.
God bless and giddy up.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
Take care.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.